Hello and welcome to my top 10 books of 2023. So in 2023, I read 511 books. I believe around 140 or so of those were DNFs, so I read just under 400, which is the standard. I do tend to fully read over 300 books per year. I was hoping to read less this year. That didn't happen. And I think that's mostly because I did quite a few 24-hour readathons and I just stack up the books in those. So I'm not going to be doing any of those this year because I do want to take it easier. I just want to read less, even though reading is my favorite hobby because I track it. I'm sorry, I've got cat hair all over my face. It is driving me bonkers and I can't get it. I was tracking on 3 different apps. I think that also kind of burnt me out a bit. That's just too much. So I was using Library Thing, Goodreads, and Storygraph. I'm not going to be continuing with Storygraph or Library Thing. I'm just sticking with Goodreads for now. I can't seem to find an app that has great tracking, but also a good social aspect to it. There seems to be a gap in the market in that respect. And also I want to be able to do like 5-star ratings. That's the thing that shits me the most about Goodreads, aside from it being owned by Amazon. I'm just going to stick with it for now unless a newer, better app comes along. So I'm not going to go heavy into the stats for the 511 books that I read. Most of them were fantasy and romance. Those are the top 2 genres for me. It was and once again, almost an 80-20 split between fiction and nonfiction, which is the huge. Out of all of those books, though, I only had 10 5-star books. I give out very little 5 stars. It does not happen very much, but that is a really shitty percentage and I'm hoping to change that this year. It's just about obviously picking books that I like, but I'm not very good at picking books that I like, it seems. And I still like to read from all genres, so I am taking a gamble with doing that, but I don't want to limit myself down to a certain genre. I think I'd get sick of it, to be honest. So let me just tell you what I've read. So I'm going to start with A Matter of Temptation by Stacey Reid. So she became my most read author of this year because I found her this year. A Matter of Temptation is a historical Regency kind of romance, and you've got a more demure wallflower kind of woman with a rakish duke, earl, whatever they are. And it's a slow burn romance, but then it gets steamy and it's my favorite kind of book. I just love that. And you've got most of the time, this isn't the only one that's by Stacey Reid, but it's a similar theme where you've just got 2 characters that really respect each other and are good people overall who fall in love. And this brings me to the next Stacey Reid book, Her Wicked Marquess. Similar situation, a shy bookworm, an earl or duke or whatever. And then I think with this one, she ends up pretending that they've slept together to ruin her reputation on purpose, but then he holds her to that statement. It's like, well, now you have to marry me. These guys were adorbs. There was a very sexy finger scene that I liked. So this one, had me blushing. Both of these books have me blushing like a schoolgirl. I love them. They made me happy. They made me kick my feet with glee. And I'm still chasing the feeling of both of these. I haven't read anything since that's been just as good. So if you've got any recs for a historical era romance with 2 really good people, slow burn, but still spicy, let me know. And then here we've got The Magic of Mushrooms. So I bought this because I loved it so much. It's just so well done. It has the most beautiful illustrations, and I've gone just to chapter pages. Illustrations of fungi. It talks about them in terms of not only their environmental significance, but in history and folklore and medicinal uses and therapeutic uses and magical aspects. Just all about fungi. It is fantastic. It is entertaining. It's an excellent coffee book and I love it. So this was one of the 5-star nonfiction reads for me. Another nonfiction read was this one. So this is the Anthology of Intriguing Animals. It doesn't come up well because this is gold gilding. It's got gold gilded pages. The quality, once again, is just stunning. It's done so well. It's for children, but it's interesting, even though there's not a lot of information. The information they do put on there is fascinating and entertaining to kids. My daughter absolutely loved it. We read through it so quickly. It's got an interesting array of animals and facts, and it's just done really, really well. So this was a really good book. Then we have I Who Have Never Known Men. This was, what do you call this? Dystopian, sci-fi, speculative fiction, something like that. It's very quiet. It was a translated work, but it's one of my favorite books ever. It's heartbreaking. It is not a happy read. It is bleak, but it is a reminder of what it is to be human and the will to survive despite your circumstances. Hold on to that humanity despite what is happening to you. It was fantastic. There are mysteries that are not completely illuminated in this, so if you don't want to be left with a book that has more questions and answers, I wouldn't recommend this, but I freaking loved it. It was very thought-provoking and it sat with me for a very long time. The next book is Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater. This is a blend of Good Omens versus The Good Place. It's about angels and demons who are constantly warring with each other to get humans to end up either in heaven or hell. So they're trying to sway, tempt, or save human beings. And this was just a blast. It was very wholesome and sweet. There was a lot about the sin of chocolate in there, which was very hilarious. It had humor, it had love, it had emotional depth, it had everything I wanted. And angels and demons are just up my alley. So I absolutely adored this book. Then I have The Grace of Wild Things. So this was a middle grade book, and it is a very cozy tale of an orphan girl finding family with others, learning to come into her own power, her own magic. She never ever loses belief that magic exists, that she can have a happy ending, that she can have a family, even with a children-eating witch. So the witch she does shack up with bake up kids in her oven. Like, it's not, she's very extremely morally grey, but more to the dark grey. So not all of the characters in this are wholesome and sweet. There's darkness in here, but it was just, it made me cry with some things that happened. And it just filled my heart up. So I love this book. We have Big Panda and Tiny Dragon. So this is Buddhist philosophies and musings told by Tiny Dragon and Big Panda and their beautiful, beautiful friendship. And just, it's just filled with so much peace and love. And it just feels like a warm hug from a friend. It was so wholesome and what I needed, and I loved it. The illustrations were also really beautiful. Then we have Tress. So I think this was a 4.75, not a 5, but you know, I wanted to have at least 10. So I bought my own copy of this, and I almost never do that, but look how beautiful these end papers are. Like, they're just absolutely stunning. And I wanted to have it on hand for my children. So I believe there are other copies of this that have like illustrations and things like that, but I didn't want to pay the insane prices to get it shipped here. But this was so, Brandon Sanderson said this was kind of based on The Princess Bride, which is one of my favorite books and movies of all time. And I definitely feel the influence of that in here. It's, once again, I really like wholesome, I guess, books, but that have depth, that make me cry, that touch my heart, that give me hope, that inspire me, that make me see that there is good in the world and that we can find happiness. And this is like that, but you've got a stellar adventure on a pirate ship about a girl who's going to save her love from an evil sorceress. The world building is phenomenal. It's interesting. There's a found family aspect of this one once again. And I loved everything about it. So this was Tress of the Emerald Sea. The last book that I am talking about is The Witchwood Not by Olivia Atwater again. So in this 10 best books, there were authors featured twice. So we have Stacey Reid, who had 2 of her romance books, and Olivia Atwater had 2 of hers. This one was more a gothic fantasy romance. So you have a badass MMC magician, you've got a trickster fae love interest, you've got a spooky AF gothic manor where weird is happening, people are being murdered, and there are mysteries to solve. I love that this also included cartomancy in it, because that's one of my favorite things in life, and I love that that was her skill set. But Winifred was just an amazing character. The romance is on the tamer side, so don't be expecting a lot of spice, but it satisfied me. It was still done well. The tension was there, the flirtation was there, and it was delicious. It's slow burn. The world building is great. Obviously, this book continues. I will be reading the second one. You bet your ass I will. I'm probably going to go through Olivia Atwater's backlog now because she's given me 2 5-stars this year. But I just loved all of the vibes in this, the characters in this, the setting, the magic system, loved it. She's got sisters too, one of whom is a necromancer. Can't wait to meet them and get them fleshed out a little bit more. So this has a lot of potential that has not yet been explored, but I'm really looking forward to it. So those were my top 10 books of this year. Overall, I wouldn't say it was a great reading year. Most of these books, overall, I think my average rating was 3.5, which is okay. That's decent, but it meant that a lot of the books were right in that 3 to 3.5 range. So they were very, I guess, average for me. They were good, but they weren't amazing. And I'm hoping to skew it to the phenomenal section. I want an amazing year. I want a, oh my God, I have way more than 10 5-star books. It wasn't even like 10 5-star. There was a 4.75 in here. But you know, I want to have a smorgasbord of 5-star golden reads. I'm going to do my best. I don't know how to make that happen. You know, it's one of those things where I feel like it's chance, it's fate. But I hope to read less. I'm setting my reading goal to 222. So 222. I love angel numbers. And I don't really want to surpass that by a whole bunch. I'm hoping to read less than 300 this year, so I'm not overstuffing my head with stories. I've read thousands and thousands and thousands of books over my lifetime. And if I read too much all at once, I lose some of that information. So I want to retain the magic. But I hope you have a lovely holiday break. Until next time, stay wild, Star Child.